Music production is a video game. Here's how to win it. I mentor over 1,000 artists, and they play a lot of video games. Once I began applying video game principles to the way I teach music production, everything became easier. Just like a game, music production requires clear goals, skill trees to unlock, boss battles. You have to take care of your character. Your obstacles are just bosses waiting to be defeated so you can actually level up. And I want to help you with that. The first big problem I see is most producers get stuck in the starting zone. This is where you think you're playing the game, but you're really just running in circles. It's usually the first few levels, and it's more tutorial than anything. You learn how to use your weapon, you learn how to run and jump. And as important as these early levels are, getting trapped here is the issue. It's like being stuck in a cycle of just planning, overthinking. Everything needs to be perfect before you can start. This would be like you hoarding plugins, writing endless 8-bar loops, watching a ton of tutorials so you could learn everything you would need to know before you start. But if you're always stuck in the cycle of prepping and learning, you're not actually implementing. The only way to properly learn how to play the game is to implement these things. Here's the truth, you don't really begin playing the game until you leave the starting zone. And for us, that's not just making music, it's finishing songs. By the way, if you do play video games and this is like right up your alley, click the like button so I know I'm speaking your language. Fear is usually the reason why we get stuck in the starting zone. We come up with a million reasons why not to do the thing. So for example, the fear of not knowing everything. I need to watch more tutorials because I'm not an expert in sound design, mixing, mastering. I'm not ready. But the truth is, you're never going to be ready. You're never going to know it all. I mean, I still sit here every single day, watch tutorials, and learn something new. But that should never stop us from making music. You need to practice what you learn in order to improve at it all. Another fear that traps us in the starting zone is the perfectionist mindset. Not finishing because it's not perfect. The mix isn't perfect. The sound design isn't perfect. But as creatives, we really don't have as much control over this as we think or would hope. When you sit down to make music, you try and make the best possible thing every single time. But does it come out that way? Of course not. I mean, if it were that easy, you'd be doing it. I'd be doing it. We'd all be doing it. We can't control the outcome. The only thing we can control is the process. Sitting down and finishing music. Other fears could include the opinions of others, people listening to your music and not liking it. There's also the fear of failure, like what happens if I don't make it? What would my family think? What would my friends think? There's also the fear of wasting time or going down the wrong path. So this might be you trying to find your unique sound as an artist, and you won't start until you find it. But let's be real, like how could you ever expect yourself to create the sound in your head if you're not actually making music? You don't have the skills yet. The right path is going to be one of doing. Taking action. So let's talk about the actionable steps you can take to leave the starting zone. We said the game doesn't really begin until you're able to finish music. So this first one is going to be super important for anyone who struggles with this. Don't aim for a masterpiece. Aim for a finished demo. You can't expect to finish these full amazing songs if you first can't complete a rough, messy song. You need to learn how to walk before you run. And the things you learn from finishing these bad songs ultimately add up to allow you to finish the good songs. Finished is the goal. Full songs, full arrangements, export them. Next, let's talk about how you approach working on music. If you do a little bit of planning here, you can set yourself up for success. Look at a given week and see how you split your studio sessions up. So let's just say you did have a chunk of time reserved every day to work on music. Maybe what you could do is choose 2 of those days and tailor them towards watching tutorials, learning, organizing samples, going through your plugins, while the other 5 days are going to be geared towards finishing the song that you're working on, really working on music. This structure just makes sure that you're spending the most time doing the things that matter the most. So then let's talk about what you should be focusing on. There's so many skills you're going to need to beat this game. But in the beginning, you'll benefit the most from focusing on the core tools and strategies first. Start off by focusing on songwriting and arrangement. If you can't write songs, melodies, chords, you struggle with rhythm and groove for drums, well, nothing else really matters then. No one's going to care about your EQ or compression skills if the song is fundamentally broken. So spend time learning these things first with arrangement before moving on to sound selection and volume. When it comes to quality productions, these are by far the two most powerful tools you have. Sound selection is going to be the equivalent of casting characters for a movie. So the script is written, the characters and their storylines are in place. It's much easier to then go cast the right actor to play that role when you know what the role is. This is sound selection, finding the right sounds to perform your writing, tell your story. Now, volume is going to be responsible for placing these sounds up front in the mix or all the way in the back of the mix. And if we stick with the movie analogy, your main characters, which are your main sounds, typically need to be up front in the foreground. But then the less important sounds or the less important characters in a movie, they're usually hustling and bustling in the background, the blurred background, because they're not as important. They shouldn't be getting in the way or taking focus away from those important characters that are up front. So we do this with volume separation. I've made a couple videos on these topics, which I'll link in the description. I go way deeper into them. So if you're interested, I'll put that below. Finally, let's talk about deadlines. So the real fun does start when you get to the later levels in this game, but you're not going to get there if you're not finishing music, consistently moving forward. With all the things we mentioned, try and set some deadlines to help you finish these songs. So we finally escape the starting zone, we move on. Now it's time to learn how the game of music production is actually played and won. I think you know this, but no one starts at level 99. They get there by putting in the time and work. Think of every action in the studio as gaining XP. This could be you finishing a rough demo or you eventually getting to the master and finishing that. They're experience points being added to your bar. But the mistake I see is too many producers think that XP only comes from watching tutorials and learning. This would be the equivalent of like you thinking you're leveling up by watching someone else play Call of Duty on Twitch. But no, you only gain XP by you playing the game. And yeah, like bigger tasks will be more experience. So yeah, finishing a song, mastering a track, mixing a track could be a lot, defeating a boss. But even the smaller tasks you do will help you gain XP. Learning a plugin, organizing samples, simple things like that. All of these contribute to filling up that bar. Next up, let's not forget the most important part here. You are the main character of this game. And if you're not taking care of your character, you're not finishing the game, period. That means mental health, physical health, eating right, sleeping, taking breaks, remembering to have fun. You can't really grind for 20 hours without taking breaks. That's how characters die in a game. They run out of stamina. Same thing here. Now let's talk about boss battles. These are the things that stand in the way of you getting to the next level. Every time you defeat one of these, you do gain a ton of XP, but they don't all come at you at once. They're kind of like sprinkled across this journey. Here are a few that you're most likely going to face. The loop boss. This is the earliest trap. You just get stuck writing 8-bar loop after 8-bar loop after 8-bar loop and storing them on some hard drive. This one can only be defeated when you learn how to get through that and start structuring out full arrangements, full songs. Then there's the gear obsession boss, which is almost like the second trap, buying plugins to avoid real progress. The only way you defeat this is by really learning the tools you have, because you won't even benefit from the new shiny one if you can't use the most basic one. And in most cases, your DAW stock plugins are more than enough to get started and to learn on. Then there's the complexity boss, and this one doesn't show up until you actually start making tracks, because at that point you start to just overcomplicate everything. And you defeat this one when you realize not everything needs 37 layers. Not every melody needs to be the most complex thing in the world. Simplify your writing, your mixing, your sound design. Then at some point in your journey, you will face the comparison boss. And this is a deeper mindset one where you start finishing music, but then immediately compare it to other people and feel like you're not good enough because of that. But you defeat this boss by realizing it's unfair to compare your chapter 1, level 1 to someone's chapter 20. Then there's the imposter syndrome boss, which is a real one. Again, mental. You feel like your tracks are not worthy of releasing, but this is defeated when you realize and understand everyone has been in the same position you're in. Everyone came from garbage tracks. The only way we get past this, move forward, is to finish more music, keep learning, keep putting in the time, keep doing this whole thing. Then we have the ears over eyes boss, which is probably a more mid to advanced level trap. You start to learn so much and you begin relying on your eyes more than you would your ears. This can only be defeated as you start to trust your ears more and use the visual meters and tools for confirmation to what you're hearing. Remember, you've never gone to a festival to look at songs. You listen to them. Now, of course, every game has the final boss. And in my case, that is the big monster moose who guards my studio. And the only way I could defeat this boss is with a ton of butt scratches, but I'm yet to beat him. Okay, so moving on, every game has a skill tree. And if you've ever wasted 20 points on the wrong ability, you know how important it is to upgrade the right skills first. Music production is the same way. There are 3 main trees you'll need to level up: the technical, the creative, and mindset. Technical skills are like your stats, the tools you actually use to craft your sound. And this would be things like learning your DAW, EQ, compression, sound design, mixing. It's all the nerdy stuff that makes your productions work. But here's the thing, you don't need to max out this tree first. Too many producers spend all their XP here and forget that the other trees even exist. Creative skills are where the fun happens. This is your strategy tree. Songwriting, arrangement, storytelling, finishing tracks. This is the tree that turns a technically fine, well-produced track into something people actually want to listen to. Finally, then, there's the hidden tree, which is mindset. This is your armor. Patience, confidence, consistency, getting feedback, building community. It's not flashy stuff, but if you ignore this, you're probably going to burn out before you ever complete the game. This is what separates the hobbyists from the pros, because no amount of EQ tips can save you if you quit before beating that level. So think of it like this. Technical gives you the weapons, creative gives you the strategy, and mindset? That's the armor that's going to keep you alive long enough to win. Now, every game gives you power-ups. These are rare items, potions, skill books. They don't replace the grind, but they make the grind easier. And music production has power-ups too. So mentors, they're like rare NPCs. They've already beaten the level that you're on, and they're going to give you the shortcut. And instead of wasting XP on the wrong skills, they point you to what matters the most. Then you've got co-op mode, or community. This is a squad of producer friends, feedback groups. But co-op mode always beats solo play. You really just level up faster when you're not grinding alone. We should just call this like the Cosmic Academy power-up, because it's kind of what we do with our students. They've used our mentorship and community to help them solve their unique problems and level up. So if you want us to help you in your specific game, you could apply and use this power-up. I'll put a pinned comment below. Next, tools and gear will be your item upgrades. Think DAW templates, reference playlists, sound libraries, preset packs, different racks. Not just shiny swords, but equipment that will really save you time and help you be consistent. When it comes to skill books, this is going to be content. So YouTube, courses, tutorials. But here's the catch. They only work as power-ups if you actually apply what you're learning. Otherwise, you're just hoarding all these skill books in your inventory. It serves you better to use them. And finally, potions. This is going to be sleep, exercise, motivation, inspiration. These restore your character's health so you can play the long game. No one makes it to the final boss if they're running on 0 HP. So remember, the grind will always be there, but with the right power-ups, it does make it easier to move through these levels stress-free, and you'll also have more fun doing it this way. All right, so we have the game mechanics of music production down. We have our skill trees, we have our skill books, we have our power-ups. Now it's time, though, for the real thing. Actually leveling up. Just like any game, music production has levels. At the beginning stage, your goal isn't perfection. It's simply finishing. Like, even if it's rough, even if it's messy, you're learning the basics of all of the things that go into producing a song. Songwriting, EQ, compression, sound design, mixing, mastering. You might even be uploading some of these to SoundCloud, or maybe you're just sending them to your friends as a private file so they can listen and see what you've been up to. But then we move to the intermediate level, and this is where you're consistently finishing tracks and the quality is stronger. Your songwriting is stronger, your mixing is cleaner, and you're building a catalog. It's not just 1 or 2 tracks. You might even be getting some label interest, some gig interest, collabs, and most importantly, you're starting to build this process you're comfortable in and you trust. Then you reach the advanced level, and this is consistently finishing and releasing high quality tracks. You've got a clear sound as an artist, releases coming out, a brand that's starting to take shape, a growing audience. At this level, you're not just grinding songs anymore, you're building a career. That is the end game. So how do you level up? You need a quest log. And music production is the same. You just need to write down what are those steps you need to take to get to the next level. Here's a simple example. Let's say my first quest is to finish and release a song. What would that entail? Maybe something along the lines of make one 8-bar loop, expand it into a full arrangement, add automation and variation, do a rough mix with my basic tools, EQ, compression, volume balance. Then I can export, share it with a friend, get some feedback, make some final revisions, and bounce it out. Finally, if I'm confident enough, I can upload to SoundCloud or Spotify. That's one quest, and when you beat it, you level up. Even if the song isn't perfect, you gain XP. Here's how you can build your own quest log. Step number 1. What's the main quest? What's the big goal for this month or this year? Is it finish your first track, land a label release, put out an EP? Step 2 would be break that down into tiny micro quests. Don't just write, release an EP. Instead, maybe it's write 5 song ideas, pick 3, send to a friend, get their favorite. Then from there, build out the production, fix the sound design, take it through mix and master. All of those little steps that you would need to do. And here's the key. Don't overthink it. Even the failed attempts count. Every unfinished track, every label rejection, they still give you XP. And sure, you might have to start that level over again, but now the next time, you're better prepared. So don't just play the game, learn how to win it. Build out your skill trees, collect your power-ups, keep gaining XP, because just like in any game, the players who don't level up are the ones who quit playing. I've just seen so many of my students achieve their wildest dreams in music, and if they can do it, I have faith you can too. If you like this video, I know you're going to love the next one, so tap the video on screen right now. There is so much more we can talk about. I'll meet you in the next one.